spend Christmas Eve waiting for some extra fat white dude to come busting through the ceiling when you could spend Christmas Eve with yours truly, the super villain, Doom.
Station gang, and welcome back to Surrounded by Shortboxes with your boy Stu from Dr. Doom's Fan Club. This is a show where we take a look at my favorite back issues from the personal collection and what I love about them so much. And today, we are talking about an undersung Christmas classic, y'all, that takes one of my favorite pairings in all of comics, Iron Man and Dr. Doom, and forces them together to confront an evil symbiote Santa Claus that's been nullified by the King in Black. This one is a one-off tie-in from the King in Black event at Marvel Comics, which took place in 2020. It's written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Salvador Larroca. It's a Yuletide classic for the books as Doom and Stark have to work together to take down this evil Saint Nick and his menacing reindeer. So leave out some milk and cookies for Big Red, y'all, and let's get into what I love about this Christmas classic so much. As always, first let's wrap our presents, stuff our stockings, and talk about how we got here in the first place, starting with an introduction to our creative team and writer, Christopher Cantwell. Christopher Cantwell's comic book career is one of those rare trajectories of luck and opportunity, a series of very, very fortunate events indeed. Before arriving at Marvel and ever writing Tony Stark or Victor Von Doom, Cantwell first made his name as the co-creator and showrunner of AMC's *Halt and Catch Fire*, the critically acclaimed TV drama about the early rise of personal computing. But despite his initial TV success, his love for comics always remained. It was always there. And so beginning on the commute to and from his TV job, he begins writing comics and starting to develop a story he knew would work best in the sequential storytelling arena and not on TV. He reaches out to his friend and fellow comic book writer G. Willow Wilson about this idea he had for a book, and she puts him in touch with none other than the great Karen Berger. Now, for those of you uninitiated, Karen Berger is one of the most important and badass editors in modern comic book history. With a brilliant eye for talent, Karen was the architect of the British invasion at Vertigo Comics in the late 1980s. We have Karen to thank for championing so many brilliant voices and stories into the medium. Writers and artists like Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, Garth Ennis, Peter Milligan, Brian K. Vaughan, just a few of the many discovered and given major career opportunities by Berger long before they became the iconic creators that they are today. Karen truly changed the game by championing creator-driven, boundary-pushing titles at a time when mainstream comics were still being dominated by cape and cowl books. Eventually, after leaving DC, she launched Berger Books at Dark Horse Comics, and this publishing line focused on the Berger brand of cerebral, creator-owned storytelling. And so this becomes the imprint where Christopher Cantwell's comics career truly begins. Berger takes a chance on him after she hears his pitch, when he was still only known primarily as a TV writer, and gives him the space to make the book She Could Fly. This is a book that aligns with the mission statement of Berger Books, and it really is an incredible stroke of luck for Cantwell, because in many ways, Berger's stamp immediately legitimizes him as a comic book writer overnight, right? Without Berger opening that door, I think it's safe to say that Cantwell's path to Marvel and writing Dr. Doom and Iron Man would have been much slower going. She Could Fly was a story about a teenager named Luna who becomes obsessed with a strange woman she sees flying over Chicago. When that woman suddenly dies in a fiery mid-air explosion, Luna can't let it go. She needs to know who she was, how she was flying, and why it all ended. It's a book that ends up really being engaging on a couple fronts. One, as an engaging look at an individual coping with a crippling mental illness, and two, as an engaging look at the eerie mystery behind the could-be truths of conspiracy theories. From there, Cantwell took on Everything, another Berger Books title. This one takes place in the quiet town of Holland, Michigan, right after a massive new superstore called Everything opens its doors. At first, it's all gravy, right? Store's got everything, every convenience, every comfort you could ever want, but the longer it stays open, the stranger the town starts to become. People start acting off, getting violent, and there's this simmering sense that something just ain't right with this new superstore. After both of these books with Berger, along with I Pledge Allegiance to the Mask with Dark Horse, Marvel takes notice of our boy, and Cantwell lands Dr. Doom in 2019, a funny path back to the House of Ideas after once being a Marvel intern at 19 years old. In fact, Cantwell and Kevin Feige, current president of Marvel Studios, worked together back then in what was Cantwell's first job after moving out to LA. So, gets Dr. Doom in 2019. This run was really the book that put him on the map for me, without a doubt. And I highly recommend this series for anyone interested in Doom. You could just pick it up and read it and enjoy it. You don't have to have a whole lot of back history about the character. Some of that does get covered there in the run anyways. This run gives us a bevy of amazing moments, including Cocaine Bear, Doom and King the Conqueror in a hilarious buddy cop style team up, and a shocking and utterly Doom moment in the run's big finale. As his run on Doom was wrapping up, Cantwell landed Iron Man. Not only did this run have some glorious Alex Ross covers throughout the entire thing, I thought it was a cool subversion of the Iron Man character. Under Cantwell's pen, Tony Stark went on some wild-ass journeys, transcending to Cosmic Iron Man at one point, from dealing with Korvac to the Mandarin, being stranded on an alien world, forced to confront the man in the mirror. This run sees Tony approach godhood, attain levels of power he's never before seen, but all the while still fight those familiar demons like ego, guilt, power. Ultimately, this run sees Tony Stark find his reason for being a hero again, his why. So by the time Cantwell writes this King in Black Iron Man Dr. Doom #1 one-shot, he was already juggling both of these characters at once. The Doctor Doom series was coming to a close at this point in time, and Iron Man was nearly 5 issues in already. And you can feel that in this issue. He's really got a solid understanding of these two, their voices, their rhythms, their egos, the way they irritate one another just by existing. This character familiarity that Cantwell has really helps to make this tie-in sing. So just looking forward a bit, after his time, on this one-shot and at Marvel, Cantwell only expanded his footprint across the comic book landscape. He moved back into the indie space. I'll go ahead and shout out 3 more indie titles that I've really enjoyed from him in recent years. Blue Flame at Vault is definitely worth checking out. Briar from Boom Studios and Out of Alcatraz from Oni Press. All 3 of those are worth a read if you're a fan of high concept character dramas or pulpy crime thrillers. Cantwell's got something for you. All right, now that we've covered our scribe, let's talk about our artist, Salvador Larroca. Larroca hails from Spain. He broke into the comic scene as part of the early 90s wave of Spanish talent that also included artists like Carlos Pacheco, Oscar Jimenez, and Pascual Ferry. As part of this incredible generation of artists, Larroca and the others really helped to establish Spain as one of Marvel and DC's most reliable talent pipelines throughout the 1990s and 2000s. Larroca got his first steady gig at Marvel Comics on Ghost Rider, but really made a name for himself on Chris Claremont's Fantastic Four in the late 90s, with a style that was his own, but also very reminiscent of Joe Madura and some of the other bigger tastemakers of the day. Throughout the 2000s, Larroca became one of Marvel's most dependable heavy hitters, always able to hit a deadline with consistency. He would team up again with Claremont on Extreme X-Men, but it was his collaboration with Matt Fraction on Invincible Iron Man that really put himself on my radar. During this period, Larroca's art style shifted into a more realistic, reference-heavy, we'll say hyper-rendered kind of aesthetic, kind of digital realism. I think in his art and his evolution really works for a tech-heavy, armored-up hero like Tony Stark or Dr. Doom. And by doing the art on nearly every one of those 60-plus issues that make up the Matt Fraction Iron Man run, Larroca really becomes one of the most important and essential artists when you're talking about guys who really shaped the look of Iron Man in the late 2000s. That said, Larroca's switch up in style has not been without its critics. Not long after his pivot to digital realism, during his long run on Marvel Star Wars titles, a controversy emerged. Readers, critics alike, both started to notice panels where it appeared to be either heavily traced work or directly referenced from film stills or promotional photos, even other artists' work. The most common criticism wasn't that he was just using reference, which is standard practice for artists, but that his finished pages were stiff or lifeless or just garishly, inconsistently rendered. Some of the faces looked like mashed potatoes. It wasn't a good look. Some characters resembled specific actors from the movies in some panels, and then you turn the page, go to the next panel, and they look way off model. Blogs, Reddit posts, everything pointed out the side-by-side comparisons, and it made all of this hard to ignore. The debate raged across social media. And though Marvel never issued a formal reprimand and Larroca continued work steadily over this period, this episode did put a dent in his reputation, I think, over time, especially among readers who felt that his photorealistic, digitally rendered approach had kind of crossed that line from being cinematic into something overprocessed and really completely uninspired. It became a definitive talking point of Larroca's Star Wars era and, unfortunately, his career as a whole. It's not enough to derail everything, but enough that it still comes up whenever Larroca's art style is discussed. For my money, his particular artistic choices and deployment of certain techniques certainly help cement his reputation as being fast and always able to meet a deadline. His ability to get across the finish line got him a ton of work at the House of Ideas over the years. And though I can't ever fault a man for working hard and working with consistency, sometimes cutting too many corners can really bite you in the ass. And that definitely happened to Larroca during his time on Star Wars in 2015. But for me, it does not completely smear or besmirch his reputation or his legacy. In my eyes, he is still successful, consistent Spanish artist who's illustrated a metric fuck ton of Marvel books, and without a doubt had a big hand in forging a more direct and profitable route for other Spanish artists to break into the big two in American comics with. To me, that stands as the Larroca legacy, not the unfortunate mistakes that he made during the Star Wars scandal. So by the time King in Black rolled around, Larroca was bringing the Doctor Doom series to a close with Cantwell. However you feel about his style and his turn to realism, his Doom looks great for me. And that whole nonstop action vibe of the run, I think, really leaned into his strengths as an artist. For me, his art was a fantastic compliment to Cantwell's story and his excellent grasp of the character and voice of Doom throughout the series. All right, so now that we're familiar with writer and artist, really quickly, let's touch on what the King in Black event was before we talk about our spotlighted Christmas classic. King in Black was Marvel's big symbiote event that served as the climax to Donny Cates' Venom run. Its story centers around the arrival of Knull, who is the ancient god of symbiotes, and he crosses space and time to invade Earth with his army of dragons, plunging the planet into literal darkness, forcing nearly every corner of the Marvel Universe to respond to this threat. The core creative team on the book was writer Donny Cates and artist Ryan Stegman. Together, they brought the heavy metal opera of cosmic horror to life. Started in December 2020, and it went to April 2021, I believe, over the course of 5 issues. And so here we are, finally at our Iron Man, Dr. Doom, King in Black tie-in. Let's dig in, shall we? Our story opens with a childhood Christmas memory of Tony Stark's being on a New York City rooftop with his father Howard, who's gifting him the Johnson & Bernstein building, primo Manhattan real estate. Howard insists it's a gift from Santa, but a young Tony tells Pops he knows the truth. Howard warns his son not to let go of all the magic in the world, or everything will turn cold and gray. And this phrasing of Howard's fatherly advice acts as a perfect segue as we turn the page, move forward in time to the present day, where we find Tony in his new Iron Man suit, which has blended symbiote with his extremis armor. He's on the same rooftop he was when he was a kid, looking at the Johnson & Bernstein building again, but now we see the entire landscape of the city has been transformed by the Lord of the Abyss. Everything is indeed cold and gray, the sun has been blotted out, and there's a haunting darkness over New York City as we see that it's being choked out with symbiote vines and symbiote overgrowth, all a byproduct of Knull's invasion and the overwhelming darkness which has accompanied it. And so on this rooftop, Tony mourns a dead Eddie Brock, thinking about Eddie's sacrifice so Tony could get his hands on this piece of symbiote. He ended up fusing with his extremis armor. And through this narration, we find out that he did sell that Johnson & Bernstein building at 13 years old and made a profit of a cool $6 million. Man, to have some Tony Stark problems for a day, am I right? $6 million at 13. So, as he sits up there moping about failing Eddie Brock and letting him die, Doom shows up and asks Stark if he would mourn him the same if he died. A man who is a villain in the eyes of so many. And as they continue this conversation on the rooftop, Tony spies something up in the sky. He can't believe his eyes at first, but in the distance, it appears to be the silhouette of Santa and his reindeer flying through the sky. But Stark's disbelief soon turns into belief, and he asks Doom if he sees it too. Doom replies, Stark, this is absurd. It's not even Christmas Eve. But Tony is sure now. I'm looking right at him. It is. It absolutely is. But Doom retorts, the spirits of Yule are petty Germanic folklore. This right here will be one of the best things about the comic. The comedic back and forth between these two. The dialogue and voice for both of these characters is on point, and their conversations really make this issue a blast to read throughout. Fun, funny, refreshing. Cantwell does an excellent job in that respect. So as Santa gets closer, we see the childhood star come out and appear again, just for a brief flicker, as Tony says, I can't believe it! Santa is real! But as St. Nick approaches, we realize something here is horribly wrong. His eyes and the reindeer's eyes are glowing purple, and we turn the page and get this full-page blast from Larroca, his best work in the issue, of a symbiote Santa singing, Sleigh bells sting in perdition, as he whips his venomized venison across the sky. Tony is in straight disbelief. He's horrified. Best line of the book right here, folks. Oh my God, they nullified Santa! Tony thinks that the real Father Christmas fell into Null's evil clutches, and Stark just can't abide that, man. Doom tries to calm his fears here. Quote, it cannot be your hallowed gift giver. 'Tis merely some soulless perversion of the chimneyed one. He's got so many extra ass names for Santa. Tony insists that they stop him before Null Santa starts delivering presents to innocent children or something like that. He takes off after him, with Doom reluctantly following behind. Doom strikes first and positions himself in front of the reindeer and opens his palm to stop Santa, saying, quote, I must say I find all this quite Dickensian. But as he goes to do so, the reindeer strike and vomit these symbiotes cords all over him, which Doom is able to burn away. And as he does so, he educates Stark on the Christmas customs in Latveria. The holiday legends tell of a singing ghost made of ox hair. He brings pig iron to orphans and strikes down fools with a dream scythe forged in the hellish screams of the dead. But symbiote Santa Claus interrupts this history lesson with an exploding present and another Null Christmas classic.
Silent night, no moonlight, all is snow, all is bright.
As Victor and Doom both recover from the present's blast, they have this brief conversation, and Doom, in his own Doom way, tries to lift Tony's guilt over Eddie by reminding him that his sacrifice gave us this new and improved Iron Man, whose suit might be used to take the fight to Null. But all that's interrupted by the reappearance of Santa in the sleigh, and this time Iron Man flies up to it, grabs a hold of it, and lets the symbiote part of his suit slowly gain control of the sleigh. But as Santa counters with, quote, experience my pain, dear, Doom takes out the, quote, freakish flying venison with a blast of flame before they can attack. As Doom compliments Tony on his armor and how he is selling short the massive potential he has with his Extremis system combined with the symbiote realm, the sleigh tips over and out falls St. Nick now that the reindeer have been eviscerated. So Santa is plummeting from the sky. Tony tells Victor to drop the color commentary and grab St. Nick before we have a Santa side on our hands. But alas, they fail horribly at this task. Santa falls from that great height, crashes into a car on the street below before Iron Man or Doom can grab him. I love this reaction by Stark here at the bottom of the page, as they realize they might have just killed Santa for real. Okay, well, it was an accident. You saw that, right? But as Tony's symbiote starts to return to his suit, up from the wreckage jumps nullified St. Nick with a flurry of curse words, here delightfully edited out with sleigh bells and snowflakes and snowmen and candy canes. I love this decision by letterer Travis Lanham. It's so playful and of the season, but also hilarious, especially after we see Doom say, that was extraordinarily profane, in response to Santa's cursing. So good, so good. As we turn the page, this sequence is just as great and funny. Iron Man in a voice, I imagine, that's a mix of his childhood curiosity and also unnerved shock. Tell me the truth. Are you him? Are you actually Santa? And then Doom, even if you truly are Kringle, your corruption is unmitigated and you must be destroyed. And as symbiote Santa bellows out, don't you believe in me? Tony responds with this vulnerability and honesty in a moment that feels so uniquely Stark. Let me put it this way. I'd like to know that the world isn't just cold and gray. I don't want to believe it's just death and sadness and failure. Because if it isn't, then maybe there's a small chance of a way back from all this. I love that. hanging on to hope. But Santa ain't having it. His voice is nulls, right? There is no return. This Christmas and all time forward will be black. And as we get our ho ho ho, out comes the goop from every orifice on Jolly St. Nick's face, and this symbiote lurches at Iron Man. He responds with tidings of comfort and joy. But when the symbiote energy from his new venomized suit meets Santa's symbiote, we get this terrific purple detonation. Iron Man is knocked off his feet from the blast as Doom demands, "Krampus, in thy reign!" As the smoke clears and Tony asks Doom what happened, Doom replies, quote, "You have eradicated Nicholas, the jolliest of men." Tony can't believe he's killed Santa Claus. But wait, out of the smoke and wreckage, we see Father Christmas, and he looks a little beat up and worse for wear, but he's okay. And they go to help him. We find out, is this Santa after all? He knows Tony and Victor. He calls them by their names, quote, "Tony, always such a good boy." I don't know about that one, Santa. And Victor, one of the naughtiest ever lived. I don't know, Santa. I feel like that's all surface level, sir. As he starts to stumble off, Doom tells St. Nick that they've slaughtered his, quote, antlered avian herd. Doom, again, so extra every chance he gets with these Santa titles and reindeer descriptions. Tony is confused, though. The ID that he found on Santa says that he is a Michael Dunwoody, a resident of Paramus, New Jersey, and an owner of a holiday decoration supply company. So over the next couple of pages, Doom first tries to convince Tony that his armor and its unique amalgamation of symbiote and Stark tech could prove to be a useful weapon in fighting Null. And Doom is also dumbfounded by how this Michael Dunwoody of Paramus, New Jersey, knew both their names and, quote, so arrogantly quantified the sum moral value of our respective deeds. Tony tells Doom that neither their true identities nor their general natures are really secret from the public, but that it's okay to believe in Santa if Doom wants to. And Doom scoffs at that. He thinks it's a preposterous idea, that he was merely conducting an intellectual investigation. But Tony's humor is right on time and right on point in his reply. Yeah, okay, because Santa is out of the realm of possibility in a world currently overrun by sentient black goo. I love that. As Tony leaves Victor and he takes off, our story comes full circle, back to Howard Stark and his words of advice to his son there on that rooftop. Tony's parting words to Doom are but an echo of his father's. Quote, "Don't let go of all the magic in the world, Victor." And as he takes off and departs, Doom wonders, could Claus be Sorcerer Supreme? I love this one first and foremost because of Doom and Iron Man team up. One of the best duos in Marvel Comics period. Going all the way back to Doom Quest and their trip to Camelot. Anytime these two get together, it's worth the price of admission, folks. I'm telling you. You're all but guaranteed punchy, hilarious dialogue between the two, some thrilling action sequences, and also incredible moments of sincerity and tenderness between two bitter rivals who are so very similar in so very many ways. Secondly, this one is an undisputed instant classic in terms of Christmas comic books for me. I think the fact that it's able, at least in my book, to achieve timeless Christmas tale status despite being a tie-in for a big event is rather admirable. Being a tie-in usually ties you to that event and that time in history, but the way that it's able to kind of rise above that and stand on its own as something you can revisit year in and year out is really, really awesome. That and the way it plays with the idea of believing / not believing in Santa, running the story thread off a childhood Christmas memory of Tony's, and then tying that to bigger themes of hope and defeating the darkness. It's just really well executed. And it's funny. It's hilarious throughout. Watching Doom and Iron Man first not know what to make of an actual flying Santa and his reindeer, to the horrifying realization that St. Nick has been nullified, to their tepid fight with him, and then finally the worry that they've gone too far and killed Santa. It all never gets old to me. King in Black, Iron Man, Dr. Doom, #1 by Chris Cantwell and Salvador Larroca, folks. A big event tie-in that's really a Christmas classic in disguise. That's it for me this time, gang. As always, make sure you're subscribed to the Dr. Doom's Fan Club channel with those notifications on so you don't miss out on any more great comic book content. Like this video. Give me a recommendation down in the comments. Let me know, what's a classic Christmas comic book that I should check out?
Until we meet again on Doomsday.
Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.